granniopteryx, she knows the truth, she's linking every link.
Hello. So we are now treated to the news that the police have reopened what they refer to as an attempted burglary case while they're tracking down or making the case against whom the person they've arrested in the Widdecombe murder. And whether they're making the case against him or against a group he might be associated with, I have no idea. We're not getting much information, and also I have to be careful about speculating on things prior to a trial. It's just something that floated through my mind that I thought I might mention to you. It says here, counter-terrorism. Oh, suddenly it's counter-terrorism, is it? Police investigating the death of Anne Widdecombe have reopened an inquiry. Oh, that's rather nice. No, it isn't. Sorry, I was distracted. Have reopened an inquiry into an incident. It's a bit blingy, isn't it? I wish that would go away. Here, look, I've made the page bigger. That gets it out the way. Okay, in which Nigel Farage's home was allegedly firebombed. Now, during the incident in April 2025, a lit incendiary device was pushed through the Reform UK leader's letterbox, according to reports. Police did not identify any suspects during their investigation of the incident at the time, and they treated it as an attempted burglary. Now, okay, just assume that you and I are police officers and we are standing there in the ashes of an incendiary device which is just inside Nigel Farage's letter plate in the porch. I assume he had a sort of porch and they shoved it through the letter plate there, and with it being slightly detached from the house, it didn't cause any further disruption. However, the police looked at it. Would you, as my policing colleague, look at me, look at the ashes on the ground? Obviously somebody had put something very flammable through a letter plate, and would you then say to me, oh well then, yeah, that's definitely an attempted burglary? I mean, since when has a burglar started off his attempt to steal items in a dwelling by burning the place down? You wonder where those people's minds have got to. You don't break into a house by burning it down first. Well, not with an intent to steal anyway. And yet I don't know whether you remember this, but a couple of years ago, a retired policeman, actually, or a retired special constable, I don't know why, but the police broke in on his house. It's just occurred to me now, so I haven't done any research before I started making this video. I'll try and find it, and if I do, I'll put it up there, the newspaper headline. Anyway, they went into his house on a search. Okay, I was going to just put a screenshot in here, so you could see what was going on. But this is actually serious enough for me to, I'm just inserting this into the video. Retired police officer arrested over thought crime tweet. Pensioner held after Palestinian march post on social media with Brexity books in his home scrutinised. What he did was he made a social media post talking about the dangers of anti-Semitism that were cropping up. And this was in 2023. he was warning about the threat of anti-Semitism in Britain. Julian Fuchs from Gillingham in Kent was handcuffed at his home by 6 officers from Kent Police. He'd been a member of the Kent Police for about 10 years after challenging a supporter of pro-Palestinian marches on X. So the police were there to arrest him for challenging somebody who this Mr. Fuchs was saying was getting quite close to anti-Semitism. Police body-worn camera footage captured officers scrutinising the 71-year-old's collection of books. It was Douglas Murray, of course, by authors such as Douglas Murray, and issues of The Spectator pointing to what they described as very Brexity things. They were also shown raising concerns about a shopping list containing bleach, tinfoil and gloves. And Mr. Fuchs's wife is a hairdresser. So this is the mindset of the police. Mr. Fuchs didn't like anti-Semitism, was not friendly towards was not sympathetic to the pro-Palestinian position, and they went and arrested him and then started trying to build a case against him. You know, a book by Douglas Murray, and his hairdresser wife had rubber gloves and bleach on a shopping list. And that is the mindset of the police, and it is the same mindset as the police who so-called investigated Nigel Farage's house after that arson attack. Now, these were different. This is which police? Kent Police, and the Nigel Farage was probably another police authority. But they all had the same mindset, which is a red flashing warning light to us all. All right, well, now back to the original video. It's just gobsmacking. That is a British police officer looking at a perfectly reasonable book that was sold in any bookshop, and she's saying that's a bit Brexity, as if this was some sort of a sin or a sign of some sort of moral depravity or something. These are the same sorts of policemen who will walk past vape shops and kebab shops with little girls in them and not take any notice of that, but they'll look at this book and say, oh, this is a bit Brexity, isn't it? As if somehow that implicates the person they were checking out as some sort of I don't know what, Nazi or whatever. And that's the same sort of police officer who will stand inside the smoking ashes of of a porch that's obviously been attacked by an incendiary device. Arson, one of the most serious crimes in the British calendar of crimes, and will say, well, yeah, it's obviously a burglary that went wrong and we don't need to do any more. And then I saw this. Mr. Farage, who was not at home at the time, found the damage when he returned home and described it as an outright arson attempt. It had burnt itself out in the porch, he told the Telegraph. Reopening its probe, CTP London, what's that, the terrorist police? Anyway, said it had identified a line of inquiry which may have been relevant, but was not identified and pursued by them at the time. We have a high-profile political figure, a somewhat controversial figure, who had an incendiary device pushed through his letter plate into his porch, and he and it was regarded as just, I don't know what, a couple of teenagers having a lark at seeing what they could steal by burning the house down. It was an arson attack, and the police watchdog, this is the most horrifying thing of the lot. The police watchdog, the Independent Office for Police Conduct, or IOPC. Oh, they do love their initials, don't you? So the CTP has now brought in the IOPC and is now investigating the conduct of a CTP London staff member, following an allegation that the employee failed to identify and pursue a line of inquiry related to the attempted burglary. Did you understand that? If you weren't really paying attention, I'll say it again. One of their London staff members of the terrorism unit saw something and failed to pursue a line of inquiry. Now, I am only speculating here that this looks very much like that a bit Brexity comment of the other police officer for another person who was obviously friendly to reform. That is, the police, who are supposed to treat every British citizen equally, feel that they are not obliged to protect people who are sympathetic to or involved in the Reform Party. And for that reason, discount all sorts of serious threats to life and limb of these people. Just like when Anne Widdecombe, what was that? A burglary went wrong. That's how they tried to... I mean, you must remember that after Anne Widdecombe was discovered, the very first thing that the police issued, well, the very first thing they were looking at was a delivery driver who they were going to try and pin her murder on as just a bad burglary. The police are not on the side of the people, are they? The Independent understands that Mr. Farage is horrified that the attack on his home in 2025 is being re-investigated by detectives investigating Ms. Widdecombe's murder. A source said, "There has been a very serious policing error, which is why CTP have referred themselves to the IOPC, which is unprecedented." No, I wouldn't call it an error. I think it's a deliberate attitude. And again, I am going back to that "this is a bit Brexity" comment of the other police officer in that retired policeman's home. Mr. Tice told the Telegraph, "Only recently have the authorities woken up to the abuse and intimidation I and other Reform MPs have had, despite plenty of real examples that we have provided. I was perhaps very lucky with one particular incident I faced last year. For too long, the threats we have faced have not been taken seriously." No, I don't think it's not been taken seriously. I think it's to do with a prejudice the police have been trained, primed or chosen not to take any notice of. An idea, they've even reduced Nigel Farage's security provision, haven't they? According to the newspaper, Mr. Tice pressed his panic button at his house last Christmas after being approached by an aggressive man outside Parliament. Officers then made an arrest. The fact is that if the police had taken these threats more seriously, they would probably have had some sort of eye on Anne Widdecombe's house as well. At the very least, they would have perhaps suggested more security on her front door, because obviously she felt so at home there, she didn't even she didn't even lock the front door. So her death was completely avoidable, because if they'd have taken Richard Tice's complaint seriously as part of a pattern, and Nigel Farage's the attack on Nigel Farage's house seriously as part of a pattern, then they would have gone round to all the high-profile members of Reform and talked to them about security. And we might still have Anne Widdecombe with us. Well, this is just absolutely disgusting. And again, it is all to do with the police, with their attitude to ordinary people, with their attitude to any sort of right-wing politics, with their ideology fixed to a sort of, I don't know, how would you describe it? A progressive idea. You remember that Jewish man who was at some sort of Hamas demonstration, and he was going to cross the road or something. The police said, "Oh, you're visibly Jewish, so why don't you just go somewhere else?" How can a police officer say that to a perfectly ordinary citizen just going about his business in central London? And it's the same attitude. Nigel Farage, oh, well, you're obviously Brexity, and so, you've just got to swallow that. We're not going to take any notice of it. It's the same mindset. And I am so angry now, thinking what might have happened if they'd have taken that attack on Farage's house more seriously, the attack on Richard Tice more seriously, and had thought to have a word more seriously with Anne Widdecombe. Okay, till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.